Welcome back, everyone. Dustin here again, Average Guy HiFi with another subwoofer review. And full disclosure, I was super excited about this one. Excited about this review is just about anything I've had through here. What I have here sit next to me is a HSU ULS-15 MK2 subwoofer. So this is a HSU subwoofer, obviously, but it's the sealed. You know, I did the VTF2 MK3 review. I've done a couple. I've owned a few HSU subwoofers and things like that, but this is one that I've honestly, after reading the forums for so many years, this is one of those ones where I was. If I ever build a dedicated theater, I might actually end up with these again. I'm going to sell this subwoofer just because I don't have space to store all this stuff, but eventually this might be the one that kind of ends. It just checks all my boxes when it comes to the price point. It comes to the compactness of it. It comes to the performance. Really, it's one of the top dogs for me. You might have different lists out there, but you guys, a lot of you are working with a lot different budgets than I am. So, you know, this wouldn't be my, if you'll give me enough money just to build a dedicated theater with whatever I wanted, this wouldn't be it. But for me on a budget, doing things the way that I do them, definitely going to be in my running list there. So the ULS 15 MK2 comes with a plate amplifier on the back, obviously, but the really cool thing about it, for this price point, it comes with XLR inputs, which is usually reserved for more expensive subwoofers. So the plate amplifier is 600 watts RMS, 2000 watts peak, and again, it's got a pretty compact shape. The biggest dimension is the back, going front to back, which has the grill on it and the plate amplifier radiators in the back. It's 19.5 inches that direction deep. It's about 19 inches tall with the feet, and then across the front, I'll show you the grill here in a second, it's about 18 inches. So again, speaking of the grill, here we go. Again, I buy this stuff used, so I want to just kind of point that out. There's little spatters on there, things like that. I'll get it all cleaned up, though. I usually have pretty good success of cleaning up these grills. You know, a little bit of dust kind of on that top edge, but like I said, usually these things clean up really cool. But the nice thing about HSU and their grill was that it came with magnetic. I didn't even know that after all that. And if you guys watch this channel, you know how much I like that. I like magnetic grills, not just for the simplicity of them, but I like them because it cleans up the front. And like I said, I usually like to I prefer my speakers run without the grills on them. And this really does clean up the front because you don't have to put holes or anything like that in the front of the woofer there. So that right there is a 15-inch, has a foam surround, a big kind of heavy-duty foam surround. Kind of reminds me of the Polk PSW 505 on steroids, really. And it really is, to be honest. The performance of the subwoofer is leaps and bounds better than that one. That's not a bad subwoofer, but there's definitely levels to the subwoofer game. Just like there's 18-inch sealed subwoofers out there that would just trounce this thing. There's all kinds of other options. But the reason I like the subwoofer so much is what HSU was able to do for the price point. The frequency response they're claiming is 20 hertz to 200 hertz. And again, with this 15-inch woofer, the amplifier being 600 watt RMS, it really just makes for a nice package. It's only 65 pounds too, which is another thing that I like. So on the website, it's a little bit funny. On HSU's website, it says that it has a MSRP of $1,099. I've never really seen it get up there. Usually, it kind of floats around the $800 range. Right now, it is on sale for $749, which, it's got to be the best option out there for people that can't do it yourself, DIY. I mean, those people are the kings of, hey, you want the best performance, you want the most output, and you have any wood skills, you're going to clearly beat something like this. But this, for HSU, they manufacture subwoofers for people like me that don't have the wood skills, that don't have a garage where they could just go out and build subwoofers. This is about as inexpensive as you can get for that type of performance in a kind of a compact size. This is definitely one of the values. And before, it was always like, hey, what subwoofer should I get? Everybody would just say SBS, 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 which, as you guys know, I love SBS subwoofers. I think that they are just some of the most beautiful. I think the overall quality, everything of them is very, very nice. And their customer service is unmatched. I've dealt with them twice, and both times I left saying, oh, that's how customer service should be. So there's I put a lot of weight in that as well, too. But the fact that HSU was able to do this subwoofer for under $800 is just really, really, it's really hard for other brands to compete. If you stacked up a $800 SVS subwoofer compared to this $800 HSU subwoofer from a performance standpoint, the shoe's going to win. Now, when it comes to, like, if you prefer gloss black, if you prefer the phone apps and things like that, that's where it starts adding a little bit of money to get the SVS sub. But from a price per performance standpoint, shoes got to be... I would love to hear you guys' comments. Who are the other brands out there that are competing in this? I know there's the RSL Speed Woofer, which is a lesser subwoofer, but that thing seems to have great reviews too, so I've been hoping to get my hands on that. But who are the other kind of value kings out there? I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on that. So, you know, the weight of it is 65 pounds, so I'm happy I can actually put it up here on my glass table without worrying about breaking it. I couldn't do that with that Rhythmic subwoofer that I reviewed, or that SB16 Ultra that I reviewed either. They would have just kind of probably broke my table. So we're going to go over there. I'm going to put on a movie, let you guys see the excursion, and then we're going to pop back over here and I'll give you guys the Average Guy Hi-Fi review section of it, where I just kind of give you my overall impressions. Spoiler alert, I love this thing. I've been using it for about a week and a half now. Usually I try to move stuff out of here about a week. I'll be very sad to see it go, which is happening tomorrow. But I've got other stuff lined up for you. So this is still a front runner for if I ever get the space to build a dedicated theater. That would be an awesome video. I'd love to bring you guys along for that journey. Just do a dedicated theater on a poor man's budget just to see what I can get accomplished. But we'll go over there, take a look at it. These are still in the running for subwoofers that can end up in my theater if I build my own. So let's go over there and see this thing in action and see what all the fuss is about. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that brief demo of Tron Legacy. That's one of those movies where I've really been waiting for it to come out in 4K. But I did hear a rumor not too long ago that they're coming out with a new Tron movie, so I'm assuming that they're probably leveraging that 4K release against the release of the movie, maybe to build the anticipation. Disney's smart; they know what they're doing. But I would really love to own that movie. It's great in Blu-ray, and it's still one of my kind of go-to movies to test out speakers, especially a couple bass-heavy scenes when I'm doing subwoofers. But I would love to have the 4K version when it comes out. I'll definitely be jumping on that. But it's a must-own, I would say, for home theater enthusiasts out there, especially if you're a bit of a bass head. It'll be worth your money put into that movie, that's for sure. You'll be going back to it over and over again. So now we're on to the Average Guy Hi-Fi reviewing section of the video. This is my favorite part, where I kind of ramble on, sometimes a little bit too long, about 5 different categories, and then we just average those categories out and give you guys the Average Guy Hi-Fi score. So the 5 categories are quality. We go off of bass response, we go off of the MSRP pricing, we go off the aesthetics, and we also go off of the my price paid. Each category is worth 10 points, 10 being the best. We average those out and give you guys the Average Guy Hi-Fi score at the end. So we'll jump right into it from a quality standpoint. They did it, whatever Shu does, they did an amazing job on this subwoofer to be able to build a high quality, looking at the internal pictures online of the cabinet, the woofer, the amplifier with the XLR inputs, the magnetic grill, everything, the finish of the subwoofer, the whole thing. The only thing, if I had to take away any off the quality, and it's just minor because I know that they had to do this for certain price points, but I would probably have preferred to have a rubber surround on the woofer itself. But again, that's so minor, Dr. Shu knows what he's doing. He probably chose a foam surround for a reason. Smarter people probably be able to tell you, but for whatever reason, my brain, I prefer the looks and I prefer having rubber on there just because of the deterioration. I've owned some foam surrounds speakers over the years, and they can actually get a little bit brittle. So I'm sure that's not an issue with this thing, but that's just one complaint. 8.5 out of 10. Very good score when it comes to high quality, or when it comes to the quality of the subwoofer. When it comes to the bass response, many of you out there, this is your most important, and it's one of mine as well too. I gave it a 9 out of 10. This subwoofer, without being able to compare it side by side with that Rhythmic F15 HP or that SVS 16 Ultra or SB 16 Ultra, it's really hard to tell. All three of those subwoofers kind of pressurized my room, energized it. They hit the low notes with authority. I don't listen to things very loud, about 100 peak, I would say. I want to keep my hearing about as long as possible. So these subwoofers are pretty much overkill for this little place that I'm in, but they all definitely met and exceeded my expectations in that room. They found rattles. They sounded fantastic. Those big quality woofers that just have high quality amplification behind them, clean, tight, deep bass. And this one was no different than those other ones. And those other ones, that's saying something, because those other ones cost quite a bit more money than the subwoofer. So 9 out of 10 when it comes to the bass response. Super happy with it. It made you smile. It made things shake. It did everything that you want from a subwoofer. We jump into it from a MSRP perspective. This is where it scored the highest. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. I could have given it a 10, to be honest. I mean, I don't know of any other company out there that's making better valued subwoofers than Shu. And I think the rumors start, if you're reading the forums, it used to be a new person would come on and they'd be like, hey, what subwoofer should I get? There'd be like 16 people saying, get SBS subwoofers. But the rumor, people have known about this on the forum. If you've been around as long as I have, 20 years, kind of reading those forums and things, Shu has been making waves, and those waves are starting to get bigger and bigger. Now when somebody's asking for, hey, I've got $800 to spend on a subwoofer, you'll see Shu pop up quite regularly, and it's well earned. I mean, with what they were able to do for the price points, the fact that this subwoofer comes in under $800 MSRP, or their regular price, however you want to phrase that, is really remarkable with in terms of like the performance and the money put into it. It's not going to have the apps on there. You can control it from your seat, but it's going to be a kind of no frills, plunk it down. It's going to meet or exceed your expectations at that $800 range. And I can't name of any other brands that going that DIY route out there, like Parts Express, flat packs, things like that. That'll be able to compete with this price point. If you guys know, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment. MSRP 9.5 out of 10, about as good as you get when it comes to my scoring. The aesthetics, I gave it an 8.5. You know, it's a good-looking subwoofer. I love the fact that it doesn't have the holes left over from the grill because the grill's magnetic. I think that that's really nice. You do have a veneer. You can get a veneer option as well, too, on the subwoofer. And if I ordered a couple for myself, that might be the route that I would go. But it's just kind of compact. You know, it's for a 15-inch subwoofer, it's not all that large. It's probably a little bit smaller than the Rhythmic. I didn't look at the dimensions of that Rhythmic, but I should have. But they're pretty close, you know. It just does what a subwoofer does. I think that there's people out there that are doing the, you know, those fake wood or the real wood tops. They'll make it look like an end table. You could probably get away with hiding this thing in an end table position and putting a nice piece of wood on top in case you have a wife or a husband that doesn't want a beefy subwoofer in the living room. So that's an option. 8.5 out of 10 when it comes to looks. It does a good job. The finish is nice. The grill's nice. Just doesn't do anything to kind of knock your socks off when it comes to that aspect, but does what it needs to do. My price paid, I also gave it an 8.5. I mean, $440 is a very good deal for this subwoofer. I usually like to buy my used equipment about 50% off of MSRP. You know, if it was $2,000 tower speakers, I would be a buyer probably around that $1,000 range. But with the value that Shu already has going into it, I was definitely willing to pay $440 for this subwoofer. It does have some imperfections in the cabinet. You know, there's a little bit of a ding there, kind of a ding there. Just minor complaints, though. In an average room, you probably wouldn't notice these things, but just wanted to point that out because it did come with a little bit of stains on the grill, things like that. I'll try to get those cleaned off since the new owner's kind of coming tomorrow to come grab it. So price paid, 8.5 out of 10. So we go from a quality standpoint, 8.5. We go from a base response, we go 9 out of 10. From a MSRP value, we go 9.5 out of 10. From a aesthetic standpoint, 8.5 out of 10. From a my price paid, 8.5 out of 10. That all averages out to 44 out of 50, which is an 88% 100% average guy hi-fi score. It scored exactly the same as the rhythmic. It just did it in different ways. That's why I wanted to stretch out the categories and not just give you a score, because I want you guys to actually, if you're considering the subwoofer, read the description. I'm going to load it up with my additional thoughts that I have on it, where it kind of stood up compared to the other subwoofers. Read those descriptions, because I'm putting a lot of information down there, putting links to the movies that I'm watching, putting links to the subwoofers that we're using. So really try to take advantage of that, because I'm trying to load that up. It takes me almost as long to do those descriptions as it does to make the videos. I don't know if that's a smart use of my time or not, but I'm hoping it's going to give people some value down the road if you're shopping for this stuff, or if it's something that you find used where you can kind of ask me some questions, things like that. But again, thank you guys very much for all the support. Channel growth has been well above what I anticipated, so it seems to be working, and I'm going to keep plugging ahead. I've got a lot of other speakers to review for you guys, some really cool equipment also, so stay tuned, because I'll be making some new videos here coming up shortly. And again, my name is Dustin, and the name of the channel is Average Guy Hi-Fi.